All right. Very good to see everybody. We will get started in just a few minutes from now. So yeah, thanks in advance for joining us on this Friday afternoon, a very wet and rainy Friday afternoon in Kuala Lumpur. I don't know about Singapore or Hong Kong.
Hot and sunny here.
Nice and sunny. Okay, good for you. And I think also we see many people joining us this afternoon from the Philippines. I also saw Pakistan, probably early afternoon, maybe just after lunch, having a cup of tea. And also people joining us from Durban in South Africa. There's John, there's Michael from Nigeria, maybe early morning there. So anyway, thank you very much for taking time off on a busy Friday right before a weekend to join us for the Applied HE City U Masterclass. Now, I'm just waiting for the countdown, the official signal to begin. Just some housekeeping matters. My name is Peter Steck. I'll be moderating today's session. So if you have questions, do throw them in the Q&A or the chat. And if I have an opportunity, I will try and put them to our very esteemed panelists and see if they have a comment. Yeah, I think that's the most important one. So I hope, that you have a great session. The session is being recorded, also via YouTube. So if you missed something, if you're joining us a bit late, or if you need to leave early, not to worry, you can always catch the recording. I think those are the main things I should mention. Okay, there's also Jessica from Kenya, Mfo from Pretoria, South Africa. Great that you're all joining us, and great that we can all have this kind of learning session across a huge distance and time zones, even though there's COVID, and it's a bit challenging now in many parts of the world. Okay, I see it's 4:30 here local time, so I would like to now invite the founder and CEO of Applied HE, Mandy Mock, to deliver her opening remarks. Mandy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Peter. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second Applied HE City University of Hong Kong Masterclass. Warm greetings to Professor Wei Koh, President of City University of Hong Kong, Professor Michael C. Chi Kong, Associate Vice President of Strategic Research, Professor Zhang Yuanting, Chair Professor in Biomedical Engineering, Professor Yan Hu Min, Chair Professor of Management Sciences, Professor Yan Hong, and Professor Wong Chun Hong of Data Engineering. We're very excited to be working with the City University of Hong Kong to put together such an innovative and high-profile event. As many of you already know, Applied HE is a new international higher education evaluation and branding agency based in Singapore. Applied HE produces university ranking and ratings, but we also have a fast-growing media and software app profile that includes higher education news, online professional networking, and an alumni relationship management system. At the same time, we also organize online professional events such as this one, which is a bespoke masterclass series developed for and in collaboration with CityU. The Applied HE CityU of Hong Kong Masterclass project was launched in response to the challenges posed by COVID-19 and related travel restrictions. We realized that there was a need for universities like CityU to continue building their global reputation, and a strong desire among academic leaders elsewhere to learn about the best practices of world-class universities such as City University of Hong Kong. And our solution was this masterclass, which is planned throughout 2022. With the series, we aim to reach out to countries that are not in the mainstream of global higher education, and therefore this webinar targets higher education leaders in South and Southeast Asia, as well as Africa, although the webinar is open to everyone, everywhere. These are also the countries that the City University of Hong Kong is keen to engage with more, with a view of establishing its brand strongly in this part of the world. The second Hong Kong Tech Masterclass is titled Enriching Entrepreneurship and Global Collaboration, and will focus on the various specialized research centers that CityU has recently created in collaboration with government and industry stakeholders from Hong Kong and beyond. Undertaking such bold steps have helped CityU rapidly climb in global university rankings, and sharing this experience with you today presents both a branding opportunity for CityU and a chance to genuinely share the lessons that CityU has learned along the way. We hope that today's event will help you by providing new ideas and insights into university-led research and innovation, and will give you a lasting and positive impression of City University of Hong Kong and Applied HE. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mandy. Then our next speaker with welcome and remarks, and then the keynote address, is the City University of Hong Kong Associate Vice President for Strategic Research, Professor Michael Che Chi Kong. The floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you very much, Peter and Mandy. And ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome again to the Hong Kong Tech Masterclass. And first of all, I would like to thank the organizer, Apply HE and CityU for the opportunity to share with you our perspective and experience in innovation, entrepreneurship, and global collaboration, and how we integrate them in our research program to make our work more impactful and beneficial to society. And I hope that today's program will be interesting to you, and the presentations and the discussions that follow will arouse more interest and stimulate new thinkings in knowledge transfer in higher education institutions. So with that, I wish you all an enjoyable and productive masterclass today. And I look forward to the active discussions and all the interactions with you. So thank you very much for joining us today. Now, I would like to move on to my presentation before I let Peter take over again for the discussion. So let me now share my screen. Okay, so I hope you're able to see my presentation slide, right? Okay.
Yes,
good.
but it's not yet full screen.
Is it full screen?
Now it is. Now it is. Perfect.
Right. Okay. Right. So now I'm going to present to you in the next 20 minutes some of our perspective and our experience at City University on knowledge transfer in general, and our experience in particular with developing a research impact through innovation, entrepreneurship, and a global collaboration, which is the theme of today's masterclass. Now, before I talk about this, here the title is New Paradigm Shift in Knowledge Transfer. Before I explain what that means, I would just like to give you some data just to provide you with some background information. In Hong Kong, in particular, between 2015 and 2020, we actually have seen a very rapid increase in the number of startups, almost doubled, from something like 1,600 to more than 3,000 within a very short time. And it's also interesting to note that among all these new startups established in the past 5 years, 43% of the founders of these startup companies are actually quite young, between 30 and 39. And 17%, nearly about 1/5 of them, are actually university graduates between 20 and 29. So you can see that it's quite interesting to actually observe this very general and but rapid shift in the emphasis or the sort of career path of our young graduates. From many years ago, they mainly focus on being employed, in a big company or medium scale company, but now they are seriously thinking about starting their own business. And 90% are university graduates with a degree, and more than half, or nearly half of them, actually got a master's degree or a PhD degree. Now, I have shown here many different motivations actually behind starting a business by our graduates, but here you can see that the majority are actually, we're looking at developing technology or using technology to realize their ideas. And as you can see, in terms of the source of mentorship on the very right-hand side here, Many of them actually get ideas from their friends. And quite interestingly, you'll see that there is an increasingly important influence from the startup community in Hong Kong. So that is, the kind of atmosphere or environment is getting very hot. I mean, in Hong Kong, a lot of young people are now talking about starting their own business. Now, the next slide will actually show you a little bit more about this trend. We are actually seeing more young graduates moving to business, moving to starting their own business. And we also see, we're very happy to actually see that the Hong Kong government are actually putting a lot of resources recently to support this trend. Now, what it means really is that there are more opportunities in entrepreneurship, quite obviously, and you may ask why that is the case. At least, I mean, in Hong Kong, as you can see here, although I mean, if you look at the right-hand side here, the chart here shows you, although the majority of our young startups actually got their resources from their own family, friends, but you can see the increasing number of startups are actually supported by government. That is quite interesting that we have seen this trend in recent years, and that actually shows a very important phenomenon in the past 10 years. That is a very rapidly changing paradigm shift. Point number one is that technology used to be supporting our lifestyle, but in recent years, it has become mandatory. It has become, necessary. That is, the technology becomes, a central core of our lifestyle. So we are increasingly relying on it. Point number two is the traditional supply chain is now being transformed to a more complex interactive supply network. Now, the result of these is that there are more demands for innovative ideas, and there are more opportunities being created for small to medium scale business. Now, you can imagine in the past, big companies usually are very large and they have their own research department, they have their own development, R&D, and manufacturing. And you will see nowadays, there are actually more opportunities for smaller, younger companies to participate in that process, in this complex interactive supply network. For instance, a Hong Kong startup, a small scale startup company in Hong Kong, Science Park, for instance, could be providing a very innovative design and sell it to a Taiwan-based company. And that Taiwan tech company could actually be developing, a very crucial component for a bigger company in the USA. For instance, Apple computer or other bigger tech companies. So you will see that actually releases a lot more opportunities for for smaller to medium scale innovation and startup companies to participate in the entire ecosystem. So that is the key thing. Now, in the past few years, we actually saw this trend, and CityU acknowledges this very important challenge and supports our students and graduates to embark on this very exciting entrepreneurship journey. You may ask, what is our advantage in doing that, and what are our unique position in order to support this development? And first of all, we have a very strong research foundation, and our faculties are, among the top in the world. And actually, we in a very recent survey by some Stanford researchers, that 170 faculty members in our university are currently among the top 2% scientists. in terms of citations and the relative importance of, or the relative influence of their work. Number two, we have a very rich and large pool of IPs available to be transferred to actual applications and marketable applications. And we are actually producing the largest number of patents granted in the past 5 years in a row. And we also have a strong student body across a comprehensive range of disciplines, including biotechnology, business, information, engineering, etc. So that would give us a very good advantage on which to build on our entrepreneurship education program and an investment program as well. And I'll explain in a minute how we're going to do that. Now, in terms of our research, our university focus on 5 major areas, and these are very encompassing themes. For example, One Health is an integrated multidisciplinary area, including not just the biomedicine, but also engineering and other technologies that will support biomedical research and development. Digital society actually is becoming very important as we see increasingly more investment and more development work being devoted to the metaverse and also other internet-related research and development, IoT and so on. Smart city is a much broader sort of a theme, including energy management, sustainability, climate change, and also many different aspects related to improving the infrastructure with intelligence and other supporting technologies. Matters, basically referring to new materials that are crucial to support many new technology development. And finally, brain, that relates to neurosciences and medical areas. Now, these are 5, very general and, as I said, very encompassing sort of research areas. But in fact, our university focuses on application-oriented research. And in the past, you will see a lot of development work within CityU were mainly on applied research. And you will see from our website, if you're interested, you will see a large number of achievements in the past few years on real-world applications and how we actually use our research in real applications. Now, in order to further extend this knowledge transfer effort, and recently we and coupled with the trend that I explained earlier, the participation of our young people in starting their own business, CityU actually started a new initiative to support our students in this interesting and exciting entrepreneurship journey. And there are many challenges, in fact, for our young people in order to start their own business. And we identified 2 biggest hurdles. Now, number one is they need technology in order to realize or implement their innovative ideas. And point number 2 is they have no money. So it's also important that they have the necessary financial resource to start the business. Now, in fact, CityU is actually doing exactly this to help. I mean, we are providing exactly, the 2 major resources. That is, number one, the technology that we have. As I mentioned, we have a big pool of IPs that can support innovative ideas. And CityU actually launched last year, a very large-scale flagship program known as the Hong Kong Tech 300. So this program is aiming to support 300 startup companies in the next 3 years by injecting about 500 million Hong Kong dollars in the next 3 years to support this young and new startup company through providing seed funding and also angel funding for startup companies. So if you'd like to know more details, here is the website address that provides some of the details and the application procedures and so on. And in fact, we are opening applications for Hong Kong students and general public, and we hope that we will extend it further to the mainland and later on maybe to the rest of the world. The other important initiative that will support this new trend is the Inno Hong Kong initiative, which is a platform for knowledge transfer initiated by the Hong Kong government in very recent years. Now, what it means is that the Hong Kong government is going to support a number of research centers or university-based research centers with quite a lot of funding, in fact. Now, but these research centers will be quite different from what we have in the traditional setting. Our three directors who are here today will explain more to you on more details of their own centers. But here I would like to give you a very quick, brief overview of the sort of key elements. Number one is that these research centers will adopt an totally independent company structures, independent of the university. So that would actually give the centers more flexibility in terms of decision making and developing their own technology and so on. So they own the IPs and develop their industrial partnerships. So that is an advantage, and our directors will explain, provide more details later on. And another important feature of these centers is that these centers are collaborating with eminent international research centers. Now that's very important. And today we talk about global collaboration, and that is quite relevant. And you will hear from the three directors how they develop, this global collaborative relationship and integrate them in the center to provide or to develop impactful application-oriented research. And together, something like $100 million to set up three. And the three directors are here: Professor Hu Ming Yang, Professor Hong Yang, and Professor Yun Ting Zhang, and they would be very happy to give you more details of the development of their own centers. So to conclude, I would just like to reiterate that I've seen, a very important shift of paradigm in the past 10 years. That is in terms of research impact and knowledge transfer. So we are moving away from the traditional concept of impact, generating citations or creating new areas, new knowledge. But now we are trying to emphasize on how these research, how these works can actually be converted to marketable and real application that would benefit society. So that is very important. And we also recognize there's a huge opportunity for our young graduates, our young students to participate in this new trend, which is the gradual transformation from the traditional supply chain to a more interactive supply network. And that actually created, as I mentioned, a lot of opportunities. And we encourage our young graduates to pursue their dreams and support knowledge transfer by creating, new opportunities and by supporting them in terms of finance, in terms of resources, our technology, and so on, so that we can facilitate their development. So I would like to let Peter take over the following discussion session.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction, and many questions already arising. But I suggest that we first listen to the panelists and their contribution before I start asking questions. So my name is Peter Steck. I'm the chief analyst at Applied HE, and we have three fantastic panelists lined up for you this afternoon. We have the chair professor in biomedical engineering from City University, Professor Zhang Yuan Ting, who's also associated with the Hong Kong Center for Cerebrocardiovascular Health Engineering. Then we have the chair professor of management sciences from the City University of Hong Kong, Professor Yan Ho-min, who is also affiliated with the Laboratory for AI-Powered Financial Technologies. Or not just affiliated, he's the director. All these are directors of the respective center. And then we have the City University of Hong Kong, Wong Chun Hong, Professor of Data Engineering, Professor Yan Hong, who is also director of the Center for Intelligence for Multidimensional Data Analysis. So as you can hear, very diverse centers, very knowledgeable individuals. So I can't wait to hear their presentations. Let's start with some opening remarks and a presentation from Professor Zhang Yuan Ting. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you, Peter. Can you see the screen?
Yes, perfectly on time. Yes, great.
Thank you, Peter, for your introduction. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Michael Jie, our research strategy in charge at the CTU, for his very informative and inspiring talk, which set up the tone for this following session. As Professor Michael Jie just mentioned, that at CTU we have 4 research focus, and one of them is One Health. And what I'm going to share with you is the research activity and a part of the research activity at One Health, which is one of the focus at CTU. So specifically, I'm going to share some concept about the health engineering and see how we, commercialize or to find out the real world application in this regard. Now you may wonder why health engineering, why not biomedical engineering? And one of the major reasons, of course, is the society need. And from this figure, you can see that subcardiovascular disease, in particularly compare, cancer, every year you can see that almost double the deaths of the cardiovascular disease, almost double from the deaths of the cancer, which is #1 killer. I mean, it's the subcardiovascular disease, #1 killer globally. It's not only this number of deaths is huge, but also according to WHO, World Health Organization, so those cardiovascular disease deaths continue to increase. So you may wonder why high technology developed so fast over the years, but this is not under control. One of the major reasons is because a majority of CVD deaths happen outside the hospital. What that means is that no matter how good a hospital we have, how smart medical doctor we have in hospital, we're not going to have much to those kind of a patient because they die outside the hospital. So like what Professor Michael Jie just mentioned at the CTU, we look at paradigm shift. So what do we do in One Health? We're doing the same strategy, paradigm shift from traditional treat the last stage of disease, and we move on to the preventive and predictive medicine. So the health engineering is the new field, an emerging area that aimed for early prediction, early prevention of diseases. So our center's vision is to set up international hub for tackle those submedical health engineering. Now, how to address this problem? So we know that whether people have stroke or myocardial infarction, which is a killer, #1 killer among those cardiovascular disease, is caused by the plug ruptures. So in order to prevent those two killer diseases, stroke and myocardial infarction, we need to identify who have plugs, where it's located, and what caused these ruptures. And on a separate study, people already found that during sleep, the blood pressure increase as a very bad sign. And that's highly associated with cardiovascular death. What that means is that blood pressure during sleep is very strong indicator of the cardiovascular death. But however, from an engineering side point of view, it's difficult to measure blood pressure during sleep because the current technology is cuff-based. So in our team, about many years ago, 10 years ago, we already started with cuffless BP. This is just illustrate one of the examples, cuff-based BP. We are also looking into software side of development of the BP using so-called MANS idea, means miniaturization, intelligent network digitalization, and standardizations. So we already have some landmarks, previous work in wireless, cuffless, and wearable BP development. And we work with the international community, develop the first international standard on cuffless, and set up the several prototypes, which is ready for commercialization. Now, besides the physiological monitoring, we also look at the components of plugs inside the body. So we set up biosensors and microscopics to do that. And where is located the plugs, we needed to have imaging to identify the size and the cap of the plug and the content of the plug. Say, for example, we already found the MRI imaging using molecular imaging to identify clusters in the plugs. For the early detection, and we work with world-leading research professor Alison Nobel at Oxford University, and look at the very early stage of cardiovascular disease at even fetus or the children using special ultrasound technology. Our third program at the center is look at the integration of those wearable devices for BP, blood pressure, and imaging information, and also integrate the biomarker information detected by sensors. And then you can see we can build up 4 different kind of systems, and that could be new products, like wearable sensors. You can imagine the watches, glasses, that can measure physiological data from the human body. And also we'll look at the home monitoring process, like Bluetooth monitoring on the furniture and on other kind of family use equipment to monitor people without interfering their daily life. And those is also kind of a new product, as Professor Michael Jim mentioned, that is a real world kind of application. For biosensors, we'll look at the new equipment that can use at community that can detect biomarkers, like what kind of protein, what kind of blood samples that can highly associated with cardiovascular death. And there's big equipment inside the hospital, which you cannot bring to home. But I always said that the equipment is too big to bring home. You don't need to bring home anyway. But the information from MRI, the information from PET, and information from CT and ultrasound, etc., those information can bring to your, convenient wearable device, such as, mobile phones. Here, from 4 different systems, as I just mentioned, the wearable can help you to detect the physiological data, and the biosensors can detect the proteins, biomarkers, imaging, get where is the plug, how big the size. Eventually, we can put all those onto the mobile phones. Eventually, you can monitor and diagnosis of those devices so that you can do early prediction and early prevention of these cardiovascular diseases. And I hope one day you can use your mobile phone to do these very important kind of applications. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Zhang, for your presentation. If I may ask you a question, I mean, you obviously at the Hong Kong Center for Cerebral Cardiovascular Health Engineering, you do very important work working on health. And you've obviously got some very, very exciting projects going on. Now, what is the benefit of organizing these research and activities as the Hong Kong Center for Cerebral Cardiovascular Health Engineering, rather than just perhaps having it within your own department of biomedical engineering or something else? What is the benefit of that new kind of institution that you've created?
Well, very good question, Peter. So I think the most obvious benefit is we can, have this platform for technology transfer. So those company or centers is kind of an independent registered organization. So everything can be very quick decision and access industry much closely than at the university classroom. Because one thing is that you can see the center is located in the Hong Kong Science Technology Park and surrounded with many different companies. And I feel that our university, our research staff can benefit from those operations for commercialization rather than just publication.
Yeah, no,
so technology transfer is very important for this center, and I think it is beneficial to everybody, and also beneficial to the company as well. Yes.
No, thank you very much. No, I understand. It makes it quicker decision making, more like a corporation, less like a big university bureaucracy. Very clear answer, and obviously also very clear benefits, and helping us understand why you've organized things like this. Now, the next presenter is the Chair Professor of Management Sciences from the City University of Hong Kong, Professor Yan Ho Min. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Peter. Let me share my screen with you. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Mandy, to give us opportunity to present in this great audience. And I just want to a certain extent echo what Michael already talked to you about the research team, okay, and the Hong Kong AFT, Hong Kong Lab for AI-powered financial technology. We are sort of co-founded by the City University of Hong Kong and Columbia University in New York. So I have 20 plus researchers from City University, from different schools, from computer science, from data science, from finance, from management science like me, and also from communication, from information systems. And we have truly interdisciplinary teams. At the same time, we also have Columbia, about a dozen of the colleagues joining our effort. And they are from engineering, computer science, statistics. At the same time, the lab, we also, luckily, and we include several industry people join us because of anything about, finance or financial technology probably differ from other programs. And what we need is we need a knowledge of the finance. And we also need a data in addition to the research which we have been carried out at the university. And at the AFT, and we have three major research programs. One, it's problem solving. That is, we want to solving specific problems, okay? And whatever that the technology is useful, we make use of it. Secondly, we also want to explore, what is the frontier of the research. And we also have a methodology-driven research. And eventually, we want to see our cutting-edge research which generate the methodologies can solving finance problems. Our third programs, which I want to mention a little bit, and in terms of this AI-powered fintech, and everything, we are very much data-driven. Of course, in the financial market, and traditionally we deal with financial data, which are available by quite a number of the data sources, and from the stock exchange, for example. And with the today's technology, and we also have other forms of the data, like text, like voice, like image, and those things which are provide us with the additional spectrums when we are using data to forming our solutions. And I guess we have a few projects is going on. And I guess, started from last night, the breaking news is the war between Ukraine and Russia. And global stock market, reflected clearly, and they have worries. Of course, U.S. started with, down and gradually moves up. And today's Hong Kong, because U.S. move up, our Hong Kong in the morning time moves up, but in the afternoon, it moves to the down direction, to the other direction. And what I'm trying to, point out this thing is, people always looking into, sort of stock market up and down as signal of our financial market. And actually, if you look at the equity market in the U.S., United States equity market is about $50 trillion. But there's a big market, and that's bond or the debt market. The debt market is $120 trillion, and 250% larger than the equity market. But if you look at the Hong Kong, our stock market is close to 50 trillion Hong Kong dollars. However, if you look at our debt market, and our debt market, it's less than 1/10 of our equity market. Similar thing probably observed in China as well. China, the market is an equity market size is $15 trillion US dollars, and it's debt market, it's slightly less than the equity market. And actually, in China, there are existing two debt market. One is called the onshore market, and the other is called the offshore market. Offshore market, it's those bonds trade in US dollars, Hong Kong dollars, and interestingly, the offshore, the onshore market are those debt only trading within China, and they are issued by Chinese currency, RMB. So because of the existing two markets, and obviously Hong Kong as an international financial center, it has its advantage, and because seeking sort of sourcing money in Hong Kong market is relatively cheaper than in China. So therefore, there's a trend for the Chinese entrepreneurs and government. They are sort of started to looking at the fund in Hong Kong. However, the onshore the bond is not allowed to trade in Hong Kong market, but there's always ways for people to make money. So there's a growing trend. The investors or the bond issuers, they come up with the idea. They use their onshore bond as a deposit or as a collateral. So using this, borrow the money from Hong Kong market. Okay. In China, because the bond market is very much, sort of closely regulated. If you are not to the level of AA, you are not allowed to issue bond. So in my this slides, if you look at the bottom left, And those are sort of, bond of rating in China, and they are heavily concentrated on the AAA, AA, and very few bonds, they are, in a sort of the A category. But internationally, if you look at the bond usually span very much a large spectrum from A plus to CCC, So when the bonds getting to the B minus, that is, stress. There's a stress. There's a junk market. However, so in terms of those, bonds issued in China for Hong Kong banks, it is a difficulty for them to get, how much, what is the quality of the bond. So that is the place we come to play. So if you look at those blue, the chart, it's our characterization of the quality of those Chinese bonds. And of course, if you look at the Moody's, if you look at the CNP, they also have sort of a rating on those onshore bonds as well. If you look at our rating, the blues and this orange one, obviously differ from the yellow, which are presented by China onshore bond rated by a Chinese agency. But difference, what is our difference in terms of our sort of analysis compared with the international rating agency? If you look at that, in terms of the shape, they are similar. However, we investigate with all those bond issuers, and which is 5,000 of them. And if you look at the international, they only look at 300 of those issuers. So what I'm trying to say, those are sort of things which we provide, with the data and with the machine learning algorithms, and we are able to provide additional service to the Hong Kong market. And you might ask, how good are those things? And I have, another table, you probably can look at it. And again, the blue is ours. And the yellow is domestic rating. And the orange, it's the international rating. And if you look at a particular company, and which was catching the news in China and internationally, and that is China Evergrande, which is a real estate company, and which defaulted, 3 months ago. If you look at our sort of analysis, started from year, October 2020, we already label them as a CCC, triple C bond. And if you look at the international rating, they are giving us sort of the same rating, a year later. And if you look at the domestic rating, at the time of the bond is getting defaulted, it's A grade. So what I'm trying to say, and with the machine learning and with the big data, analysis, we are able to, sort of provide additional service. And those are sort of things which can be comprehended by average people. But for the bank, they want to see more. They want to see what is the return, because those return values, which determines, what is the haircut, how much money they can borrow, and what is the default possibilities. So we are working on those, further analysis as well. At the same time, we are also taking into other, sort of the big issues which, face, related to Hong Kong, that is logistics, and which we are working on supply chain finance related topic as well. Because of the time limitation, I don't have time to expand my study, studying here. What I'm trying to say, I just want to share those, with you, and with the university support and Hong Kong government support, and we are able to tackle some big problems and generate good solutions and training good people. And if you want to know more about us, And I have our website listed in here, www.hkaift.com. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great, Professor Han, thank you very much for that presentation. So I need to go track down your rating if I'm going to buy a Chinese bond next time. I'll keep that in mind.
Of course, we want to make create a portal and which plugging with those informations. Anybody can subscribe free of
that's
charge.
Great. That's great to know.
Okay.
The question I want to
stop sharing. Okay.
Yes, please stop sharing. Yeah, that's a good idea. Then we can see you and me clearer. The question I would like to ask is essentially you mentioned at the beginning that this is a joint center with Columbia University, and you are the co-director with Professor David Yao, who I understand is from Columbia University, if I followed it correctly. Now, it sounds like a kind of relationship that developed, maybe a marriage that came about, and then the center was created, the family unit, if I can draw such a parallel. How did you, if you can elaborate on that, how did it go? How did you decide to establish the partnership? What was the kind of the social interaction, or was there pure hard calculation involved? You're the starting directors. How has it been going so far, or what have been some of the big challenges, perhaps institutional barriers to this? Could you give us some more detail about that relationship aspect that you've developed?
Okay, Peter, thank you. This is a very good question. And by the way, I think this is you are sort of turning on the advantage of the Hong Kong being a financial center and being an educational center. And Hong Kong's university, we are very much international, and we are having lots of contact with overseas universities. And which, when you mentioned the particular Professor David Yao, and Professor David Yao, we were colleagues back to 20, 25 years ago when we were all on faculty at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. So started from that point of the time on, and we have been communicating. We are good friends. So now with the Hong Kong government with this innovation Hong Kong project, and giving Columbia is in New York, and New York is a financial center, and we are in Hong Kong, and we are a financial center. It's naturally for us to think about the same thing, and we should work together and leverage two universities' strengths, and also very much connected with Hong Kong and New York. So our collaboration it's very smooth, and actually, we are having a monthly seminar, join the seminar, one speaker from us and one speaker from Columbia. And we are having this seminar on every third Friday, 9 o'clock Hong Kong time. And every time we put this thing on the website, anybody want to join us, they're all welcome. And every time we're talking about, interesting issues.
No, thank you for that, and also thank you for that plug. No, but basically, if I can summarize, basically the center is the partnership is partly the result of a 25-year professional friendship, if I can summarize it. So very, very strong foundation, and that of course makes a lot of sense. I'd now like to go to the third panelist. That's the Wong Chun Hong Professor of Data Engineering at City University of Hong Kong, Professor Yan Hong. Professor, the floor is yours. Oh. I can see your slide. For me, the audio is a bit strange, but that might be my computer.
No, it's strange for me as well. Very high-pitched voice, right?
Yes.
Hong, can you have the full screen?
Usually F5. on PowerPoint. Is it? Or no, I don't want to advise. I forget which one it is.
This guy, he just started speaking. We can't. Now we can't hear you.
Is the voice okay now?
Oh, it's okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Weird.
I don't
Sorry.
even hear you.
Can you put the full screen on?
Yeah, okay. Because I have several microphones here. Maybe the system.
It was so
Right.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, he just said that. He just said that. Said, oh,
Okay.
yeah. So
Go ahead,
everything's
go
okay now, right?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank Applied HE and the CTU for organizing this forum, and it's a pleasure for me to introduce our Center for Intelligent and Multidimensional Data Analysis Limited. First of all, I'd like to discuss our vision and mission. Our vision is to be one of the best research centers in the world in the areas of data science and engineering and artificial intelligence. Our mission is to bring together top researchers from multidisciplinary areas to develop innovative technologies benefiting industry and society. What are we doing? Here we have 4 major topics. One is mathematical theories. We believe that to solve data analysis problem, to deal with big data, you need a mathematical foundation. We have to come to the basic fundamentals. So we study tensors, hypergraphs. Those are sort of abstract theories, abstract concepts. However, we apply those to machine learning algorithms, data clustering. We develop computer algorithms based on tensor models. And also we do software and hardware design. We develop software systems, and also we design hardware, parallel processors. FPGA means field programmable gate arrays, and that's started in electrical engineering. ASIC, application-specific integrated circuits. It's much smaller and low power, and we use those to do a lot of computation. Then we do data analysis applications. We want to use our theory computer algorithms, and we want to use them in real-world applications. Signal, image, video processing, graphics, animation, and biomedical data analysis. So those are the projects we have. Instead of discussing each project, I would like to talk about how we collaborate with the industry, collaborate with partners in other places. I found that one question I got from my colleague is that what are the barriers for university and industry to collaborate? Actually, there are barriers. For university, as a professor, we want to study trending topics. We want to have novel methods, and we want to have top publications and have good postgrad students, and to get funding. For industry, their aims may be different. They want to solve real world problems, reduce costs, improve productivity, and they want something to get to the market very quickly, and so that they can compete with other companies. So with those hurdles, how do we actually get university and industry together? Well, despite the differences, we also have common goals. One common goal is actually innovation. We want to do something new, and we have the common challenge. We want to maintain or improve our competitiveness. So if you're good, you want to keep your advantage in the market or in the academic area. So from university to industry, we can transfer novel technologies, and we do a lot of research. Something There are a lot of things we do for years, and then we come up with good methods, good technologies, and we want industry to use them. From industry to university, if we can actually learn things from industry, I'll have some example for you, and we can have new problems and new challenges. So for university industry collaboration, it's not a one-way street. It's actually both ways. And if we have collaboration, then it can benefit both sides. I want to show you an example. In this example, what we want to do is actually to use artificial intelligence method, use AI computer vision method to estimate the human pose. This person is doing exercise. We want to say, well, whether this person is doing it right. So we take the video. Let me show you the video, and so you can see what we're doing. And so this person is doing this, and we want to use an automated system, AI system, to say, well, this person is doing that right, and or she's not doing it right correctly, and then say how to correct the pose. As a matter of fact, she is not doing correct to some extent. The legs should be straight. Now, of course, you can have a teacher here, you can have a coach here to do this. But as you can see, it's expensive to hire a coach, and then we use computer method to do it automatically. And originally, we started method to analyze videos using one camera. But when we talk to industry, when we talk to people who are actually teaching in schools, we found out that one camera is not good enough. So we need to have several cameras, so that we can see the legs and the arms from different views. As you can see, when you collaborate with industry, with users, you certainly get new ideas and new problems. When you have 4 cameras, then mathematically, it's actually you have to match them. You have to, how to combine the information. It's actually a new challenge. And then when we did this, we're actually very happy. We learned something from industry. Now we have the as we just discussed before, we are a research center, and we work with the university. However, we have our independent center set up at Hong Kong Science Park. Now with the university, we have we can have new research directions, a lot of good research stuff, and we can have very good students. But we are an independent center, so we can make quick decisions. We don't have to go through layers of approvals, and we're closer to industry. In Hong Kong Science Park, there are hundreds of companies. We can talk to them easily, and also we can reach out to industry easily. And it's obviously, as you can see, it's more cost effective because we do things quickly, and we make decision very quickly. We have many collaboration partners, industry, universities, and one of the universities we work with is Oxford Mathematics Institute. And when you work with those companies, with universities, there are a lot of advantages. The first thing is multidisciplinary team. We have, I'm an electrical engineer, and we work with mathematicians, so we can learn from them about some mathematical theories. As I said, if you want to solve difficult problems, we have to get back to fundamentals. And I work a lot with biologists and medical doctors. So you learn from them, and it's interesting. Again, you can get to know difficult problems. So we have complementary expertise, members with common vision, and you want to work with people who have the sort of similar ambition similar ambition to you, and so that we can do many things together. we can have strong mathematics, computing foundations, collaboration, rather than isolated projects. This is very important. If you do just one thing, nowadays, the world is so competitive. We just do one thing. I think you can hardly do something. You can hardly make a breakthrough. So you have to get, you have to have wider knowledge and solve more difficult problems. So we have group efforts, and you can have highly motivated researchers. So with the interdisciplinary team, you can have true innovation and have cutting edge technology. And of course, you can do good research and also produce competitive products and services. What I would like to say further on this is that when you interact with a lot of people, then you certainly have a lot of good ideas, and you sort of can do cutting edge research. In the past, we have done a lot of work in lip synchronization. Lip sync means that when you speak, you drive animation model, and the animation model will talk like you. And then we do facial animation, facial expressions, audio, image, video processing, graphics, animation. And those things are really traditional research topics in data engineering, in computer science engineering. Now when we talk to industry, and then when they visit us, they say, well, look, you have all the elements for metaverse. You probably have heard metaverse, that word. I learned this word in the last few months. I didn't know that word before. Now it's a trendy kind of topic in the IT area. Now with metaverse, you can do e-commerce, you can do entertainment, you can do education and training. So when we talk to industry, we came up with that idea. So if we actually integrate all the technologies we already have, then we can actually do something significant. We can do something with high impact. So this shows that there are a lot of advantages when we talk to others, when we work with industry, work with other universities. We have a unique setup. We are located in Hong Kong Science Park. On the left, you can see an image from the Science Park. And this is a symbol, the gold egg. And in the Science Park, a lot of good companies, and it's a hub for research innovation, excellent facilities, and they have very good support for startups. And CityU, as Professor Michael J. just described, CityU has top researchers, a lot of good programs, and there's a culture of discovery and innovation. And recently, the university launched a Hong Kong Tech 300 program for training entrepreneurs and to industry leaders in the future. So we have startup companies, etc. So a lot of advantages if we combine the two places. So we have a very unique and good environment. So that's the end of my presentation. I would welcome questions from you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for that. I think I need your pose estimation tool soon to start improving my tennis serve.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
we're thinking of other sports as well, not just sit up and.
Yeah, and golf, I think, is a huge market as well. The golf thing is tricky.
Yes,
anyway.
Yes, we are thinking of actually golf as well. Because golf is a very expensive sport, and people would have, money to buy software or buy training. So
okay, yeah.
We thought about golf.
My question to you was actually, you mentioned a lot of industry collaboration and that there are barriers, but that you overcome them. But I was kind of curious, can you perhaps sketch what is needed, or from your experience, maybe there's an example that you had an interaction with industry and it didn't work. You said, no, we're not going to collaborate with you because you're doing X, Y, Z wrong. so that people can better understand if I'm, let's say, in a similar position to yours, I am looking for industry partners. How do you perhaps screen them, or how do you reach out to them? Could you give us some pointers there?
Well, of course. I mean, I talked about successful ones. There are many, many unsuccessful ones. So when you do those things, it's like when you try your experiments, you'll be lucky if you get it successful. You know, for a lot of science and engineering experiments, you'll be lucky if you get one successful out of 100. You know, for a lot of things, you have ideas, you try. If it doesn't successful, we try again, and etc. For industry, the same. If you talk to 10 companies, if we have one successful, you'll be lucky. So it's really hard work is needed. And I must say, in the past, we do like animation, etc. And we talk to many companies, they're interested. But I must say, we're not moving fast enough than the industry. I did the animation for 3G. Now it's 5G, right? People will do 4G, 5G. You have to move very quickly to catch up with the development in industry. And again, when you talk to people, they have their sort of priorities and etc. So the successful ones are only a small number. So you have to talk to many, many people.
Okay, and making sure that the priorities align. And yeah, there's only one way of finding out is just talking to many, many industry partners. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not just us. I mean, even for, say, Microsoft, Google, those companies, I'm sure it's the same. They probably do many things, and only small number of the projects ultimately will make money for them. I think it's the same case.
Yeah. Great. No, thank you very much. Now I'd like to kind of broaden the panel a little bit, also bring in Professor Michael Che. The question I'd like to ask you, you're kind of at the top of this innovation pyramid, if I can call it that. And you mentioned very strongly that you wanted to shift more towards impact in a broader sense, community, industry, looking at startups, from perhaps a more traditional university culture, which, if you put it very bluntly, is kind of publish or perish, right? You need to get the journal publications in, and for the rest, we don't, well, we were not as concerned with the other things. How has it been to bring about this shift? And what would your advice be to others in your position who are trying to achieve something similar at their university? How do you get the buy-in from faculty, from all these fantastic center directors to make such a big change?
Well, okay, maybe I can provide some information. Maybe the other three directors can help me with more details. You're quite right. I mean, producing a product, selling it is very different from publishing a paper. That's why I think we have to be innovative, and we understand, if we continue to operate like a university, we know exactly where we're going to get. So that's why I think the new Inno Hong Kong centers, the infrastructure is completely different. And collaboration is the key word, because we need to collaborate with industry in order to make that impact. And when we talk about collaboration, global collaboration or local collaboration, really, I mean, it is not just ourselves. We have to think about the partner. So in the process, we are trying to create a win-win situation. In other words, we are trying to think in terms of our partner and how that would benefit the partner. I think that's the key thing. In a traditional university setting, university is a center, always. I mean, we only think in terms of university interests. But, for the three Inno Hong Kong centers we're talking about here today, this is the reason why I think with government funding, the funding is actually quite a lot of money, but we are trying to move away from the university traditional infrastructure. But this is actually a very, very new concept. I cannot tell you, I cannot guarantee that it's going to be 100% successful, but I think we have to try. because we know that if we don't try, then we are not going to get any achievement in the next 5 years. So this is a new structure, and we are quite confident that this new structure, being independent of the university, will have all the full flexibility in decision making. They actually own their own intellectual properties, and they can license them out, without connecting. I mean, this correlation or whatever. Negotiation or the very difficult processes, if the university being involved. So I think I would say, I mean, this new concept, we have a lot of confidence in this new kind of development, and maybe the 3 directors can supplement, this operation, since we have already started this new operation for something like maybe just a year. Okay, so that's actually very new to Hong Kong as well. Yeah, especially involving local industry, overseas institutions, and very eminent research centers in the UK and USA. I think this is something that we believe will work.
Peter, can I just add one more point?
Yeah, please.
Explain. Okay, so I'm doing the fintech, and McKinsey, the consulting company, last summer published 800 pages of the report on how you can make fintech successful. And one of the things which I got interested, it divided the market, divided the competitors into 4 different kinds. One is a big tech. They have lots of the tech and lots of money. And like Alibaba, like Jingdong, in China, they are tech company, and they have lots of data. And another competitor is the big bank. The bank, they have money and they have a customer, and what they don't have is they don't have the technology. And the third one is a traditional technology provider. The fourth one, it's the startups like us. And McKinsey says, okay, for startups, the most difficulty part for the startups, how do those startups acquire customer or their, sort of users? So this actually, when I look at that, that is our advantage, because most of the startups, when they, secure the money today, they need to think about the money. What is the money is down the road, 3 months, down the road. And us, and we have a government support in the next 4 or 5 years, and we know how much money we are having. So that is our advantage. That's giving us lots of competitive advantage according to what McKinsey says. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'd like to, if I may, bring in some questions from the audience. Actually, we have anonymous attendee, so I cannot tell you who it is, and they have 2 excellent questions. The first one was, I think, initially directed at Professor Hao-Min Yao, but I think anybody can, can answer, is how do you initiate interprofessional innopreneurship projects? Perhaps specifically in the finance industry, but perhaps also for the others. So how do you do that initial pitch? How does it come about? Where does the spark come from? I think that's the question.
Okay, so that's why involved with the industry and recruit industry people is important. I recruited one from HSBC, and she has been with the HSBC as the head of the modeling review group for 12 years. So in a bank, if you build up the model, if people spend 1 year, 2 years, or even 3 years, whether this thing getting to used, that's another question. As a modeling review group, all the models HSBC uses need to go through with her hands. So she knows what kind of model which is useful, and she knows the language of the bank people talks. So when we do this bond related matter, so we are able to meet with the bond traders and bond, sort of Asia Pacific heads for bonds and international bonds. I mean, you just cannot stay in the Eiffel Tower. You need to going out, engage with business people, industry people. That's one.
That's a great call. Would any of the other panelists like to comment on this? Maybe from their specific domains?
Yes, well, this is a very good question. I agree completely with Humi, Professor Yan. And in addition, I think one aspect we should consider very carefully for startup, for initiate a new project which could influence our society in the future is society need. You need to identify, number one, and what are the real society and people's need. That's very important. And secondly, you need to think through and what are the needs, what are the unique, what are the innovative for your project can serve that need. I think those are fundamental issues you should consider first. And then with those, and then you can come up with some new product and which bring the gap between the need and existing products. I'm sure you will be able to find investor, you'll be able to find the industry to do this because you are filling the gap, which is not be able to be done without your technology, without your needs, without your project. I think it's very important that you have to have something identified from society, the need, and then come up with something innovative.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Identifying the need, and you can only know that by interacting closely with people from industry. In your case, just hiring people from industry sounds like a great plan. If there's no other comments on this topic, I would like to actually go to the second question from the anonymous attendee again. And they're basically asking, how can universities from other countries in the Asia Pacific region, or perhaps also, let's say in Africa or the Middle East or Pakistan, where some of our audience members are from, how, if they were interested in initiating some kind of collaboration with you, how should they go about this? How should they approach you? Is there a process, or they should just send you an email with a pitch or an interesting idea where they think there is a real connection? Perhaps you could give some comment or advice to any of the panelists.
Yes, for our center, I just can go through email. Definitely should work and tell us what you want to collaborate, what is your background, and what would you like to collaborate in, what kind of context. So we are welcome collaboration because this is healthcare technology is a huge demand from society, and we could consider specifically, say, for example, you're visiting to the center or student, postdoctoral fellow for training. And we have an opening in, I think, all our three centers, we have opening for the training future leaders in the specific areas. And I think that is also a available channel, an available kind of program available for collaborations. Of course, we can also consider whatever you think makes sense and going to enhance the field's development. We can look into that.
Thank you very much for that very practical advice. And I think, again, as mentioned earlier as well, you just need to try, you just need to reach out and see if there is a connection, right? If I can, maybe as we slowly running out of time, I'd perhaps like to pose one kind of wrapping up question, which is that if I listen to the discussions and the presentations, there's a very strong focus on startup, on experimenting, on innovating, even to the extent that your individual centers are kind of acting like a startup, innovating, wanting to make quicker decisions, new organizational structures, etc. And I was wondering if you could perhaps share some observations. I know Professor Michael Che already did some observations about a startup, the fact that a startup needs top technology and also the financial resources, which of course makes it different from large corporate research. But perhaps you can identify one or two items from your perspective where the startup culture is very different, and perhaps as academics who are used to working with maybe large corporates or government partners, you need to change your way of thinking, you need to change your mindset and your paradigm. Any of the panelists who would like to jump in?
I can probably make some comment on this. Actually, one of my friends who from UK, he said that someone, just a very young person in UK who was very successful in business, and then he talked to the professor. He said that, "Professor, you have 100 ideas, but you don't make money. I just have one idea and I make money." So I think the environment in industry and university is very different. And in the universities, we always have a lot of ideas. But at the end, if you want to make a product, then you have to really stick with that. If you have a good idea, you should stick with that and make the product to the market and competitive. I think that's one of the things that's, I think, essential for startups.
I think that captures the difference very, very nicely. Any of the other panelists would like to offer a comment on this, on the startup culture, perhaps both inside the university and the partnerships that you're trying to facilitate?
Yeah, in fact, I think we actually have to.
Professor Che and then Professor Zhang. Yeah, go ahead.
I just make a very quick comment. I think in CityU, we actually started with education because it is really a cultural change. 15 years ago, most of our graduates are trying to find a job. Okay, that was the norm. And now in our final year curriculum, we actually introduce entrepreneurship education, and we introduce the ecosystem, and we try to tell them that there are opportunities, starting, their own business, comparing different advantages and disadvantages and so on, and all the challenges in front of them. So it actually starts with education at the same time providing resources.
That sounds very university-like education. Yeah. Professor Zhang, the comment that you would like to add?
Yeah, I agree with Michael and Hong. I just want to add one more aspect. Is that we all know the startup company, majority of them probably die within 5 years, and only very small portion of startup company become successful, growing bigger and last. So we should be aware of this. And I'm very lucky, many years ago, I involved, launched a huge company today, it's already successful. So the couple of very important factors for a startup with a bigger company. So the company are involved with the initial investment is in total $600 million to start with. And that company now is more than just unicorns. So how to get those kind of huge companies started up? I think most important, as I said, you need to identify huge need from the society and global need or national need. And secondly, you need to identify a leadership of the industry. Professor, no matter how good you are in academic, you might not be in a good position to lead these companies. So you need to find who are experienced and have leadership skills. And then you have money. So what I feel is that need leadership, money, and can probably help you to escape those dead valley of the small company startup.
That sounds like fantastic commentary. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for all your comments this evening and this afternoon. We have run out of time, so I am going to give the word now to the founder and CEO of Applied HE, Miss Mandy Mock, for her closing remarks. Oh, sorry, Mandy, you're muted. And I forgot to make an announcement just now. The other announcement I'd like to make, we would like to see who has been watching our presentation today. So in a moment, we will try and upgrade many of the participants to panelists with video. So if you would like to, please put on a t-shirt, switch on your camera, but for the time being, please leave your sound off. so that you don't disturb the closing speeches. But we'll try and do that. So if something happens to your screen, we hope you accept the upgrade and that we can see who's been listening this afternoon. Sorry, back to you, Mandy. And I see you're not muted. Great.
Thank you. Hello again, and thank you for spending your time with us today. It's been a privilege to have such a large global audience and such a distinguished group of speakers. Thank you all for your outstanding contributions. While this marks the end of this particular Applied HE CityU Masterclass, new episodes in this series will take place throughout 2022. We anticipate to cover many more relevant and exciting topics during the months to come, so keep an eye on your mailbox. We will be sending you more details soon. We hope that you have enjoyed this event and have learned positive new things about the City University of Hong Kong. So, should you receive an invitation to nominate top international universities for one of the international rankings, please nominate City University of Hong Kong. They deserve your support. Also, if you like this event and are curious about what Applied HE can do to help boost your global reputation, please drop us a line. We have solutions that can fit any budget, including a range of complimentary services that you can start using right away. We also like to think outside the box, so let us know what challenges your institution is facing and let us present you with an exciting and innovative solution. Finally, do check out our many other new initiatives. We have a professional networking platform called Applied HE Future, and this week we launched Southeast Asia's first ever Applied HE Private University Ranking ASEAN with a strong focus on learning and employability. Find out all about us at appliedhe.com. Until then, allow me to wish you a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay in touch with Applied HE and City University of Hong Kong. Thank you, and God bless.
And on behalf of the CityU and the three directors, I would like to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. And I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And I don't know if our experiment is working. We're trying to upgrade people. We've upgraded a few. So if anybody can try and turn on their camera, just so we can see who's joining us, whoever you are. That's what we're trying. But I'm afraid it's not successful. Technology is leaving us, which means there's more opportunities for innovation from the City University of Hong Kong to improve Zoom and its camera functions. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great weekend and see you for the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
again. Goodbye.
Hi, Filmo.
We have Film. We've been clicking like crazy. Nobody gets.
Nobody's turning on. I think they're all shy.
Yeah, and also the promote to panelist thing doesn't work as well. Okay, I think we're out as. Thank you.